Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. My name is Noelle and welcome to a very special edition of the vlog because we are going to be doing a follow-up vlog about a lot of the shoes that I reviewed on this channel for the past year and a half. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I am training for the half marathon at the Standard Chartered Singapore Marathon. So I've had to increase my mileage, and of course, you can't use the same shoe over and over again, especially if you're running every day. That would cause the midsole to deteriorate much faster, and um, it's just good practice to have another shoe or another pair of shoes on rotation aside from your main ones. Now, because I had so many shoes come through this channel, come through my hands, I was able to kind of pick and choose which ones I wanted to keep, and these are the ones that are currently in my rotation. Now, the reason they stayed in the rotation is because I kind of found a use case for each of them. Back when I was running maybe maximum of 5 kilometers in one go, maybe running three times in a week, I thought, well, I have need for a distance shoe, a speed shoe, and a race day shoe, and that's how I segmented the shoes that stayed in the collection. But as I've ramped up my mileage, as I've started running daily, I just found out that some shoes held up to the challenge while other shoes were not what I initially thought they would be. So the oldest shoe in my current arsenal is the Under Armour Speedform Apollo 2. I purchased this shoe because I'd already purchased the initial Speedform Apollo and a few other color lines of that model, and the Speedform Apollo 2 was kind of like their second iteration, so they kind of worked out the kinks in that shoe. So they're in pretty good condition. Um, the the outsole doesn't really have a lot of wear on them, and that's because after 2016, life kind of took a downturn and I couldn't run for very long and I wasn't able to race, and so these shoes were kind of like in the rotation. They were just for running. I only recently placed these easy laces on them because I started doing triathlons again, but prior to that they had their standard Under Armour running shoelaces on them. These shoes have already run a half marathon. I actually used them during the Ho Chi Minh City Marathon. And yeah, I did the 21K in them and they held up really well. My body didn't feel too beat up. And I also went at the pace that I was realistically going for during that time. I didn't want to use them much for training because I really like them for racing. But now, it's it's been what, how many years? At some point they're going to give up on me. I'm trying to stretch out their lifespan as much as possible, which is why I don't use them that often except for races. But yeah, it's really high time to find a new pair. Unfortunately, this whole line of Speedform Apollo shoes was discontinued by Under Armour. Under Armour has a new line of shoes with a different midsole and basically all new technologies. But the reviews that I read said that, they don't really follow directly along the lines of these shoes. They're a bit heavier, and I don't know, I'm just kind of scared to buy something that doesn't follow along the same lines. So that's been my main racing shoe, but of course I also had to have my daily trainers and all that. And so the next oldest shoe that I have in my rotation is the Adidas SolarBOOST, which at the time it was released was hailed as the successor to the Supernova, Adidas's daily trainer line. When I received this pair, I was kind of really excited because up until then Adidas had been issuing me UltraBOOST X models, which if you've seen my reviews on the UltraBOOST X ATR and the UltraBOOST X version 2, I think, it has this adaptive arch that floats above the midsole. While these shoes performed great, I actually ran the Angkor Wat International Half Marathon in the UltraBOOST X ATR without even having having trained with the shoe, and it performed really well. But yeah, that entire sock-like wrapping around the foot didn't really translate well into being comfortable as a daily trainer. So I thought that the SolarBOOST was perfect because it's constructed more like a traditional running shoe and would take to my foot swelling up through long distance training quite well. Unfortunately, after I received this pair of shoes, that was when my health took a downturn and I couldn't really do long distance anymore. And it took 2 years to finally get pulled out of that little hole I dug for myself, which is why I'm back here racing again. So I kept this pair of shoes precisely because it had an almost full UltraBOOST sole, which I thought would be great with cushioning. It was kind of neutral, but still had the torsion system, which should provide some stability. It had the Continental outsole, which has not seen a lot of wear, despite being in my possession since 2017, early 2017. Now, the thing is, I took this on a long run the other week, and sad to say, my feet and my body didn't really like me and these shoes in the last 5 kilometers I was running. I think it might be the weight, because I haven't run in shoes of this weight in a while, and so it kind of there was kind of like an adjustment that my foot had to make, and they were great though for the first 10 kilometers. I still like these shoes and they still look really good for their age. It's just 2 years old. But yeah, I wouldn't race in them, and I wouldn't necessarily train in them for long distances either. It's just a preference on my foot's part. I know a lot of other people really love this shoe for their mileage. So the next shoe I'm going to talk about is also something that Adidas issued to me. They seeded these shoes to a lot of the influencers, and I really like them, so much so that I went out and bought another pair of shoes, another pair of the same shoes in a different colorway, because what they'd issued me was white and I had such a hard time keeping it clean. So I went out and purchased a pair of these pureBOOST Go's in the peach and purple colorway. They've marketed the pureBOOST Go as a shoe for city running due to its wider platform compared to the upper. However, it's pureBOOST, so the boost material isn't the same as UltraBOOST material. It doesn't have the Continental outsole, but these outsoles have stood up to how much mileage I've put on these shoes. These became my go-to travel shoes in a sense, because I could wear them on the plane and they were very comfortable despite my feet swelling, etc. They were comfortable to walk around in, and when I got to my destination and wanted to go for a run, these were perfect also. And those runs were quite short. They were about 5 to 7 kilometers in length. So I've kind of used these as a casual jogging, sort of gym training, recovery jog shoe. When I went out and used them for a 10-kilometer run though, and I used them in Seoul, so the road conditions were great. I kind of also ran on some packed soil. Aside from concrete and asphalt, they were great. The road conditions were great. But I guess because this shoe doesn't really have a lot of construction to it and that doesn't really guide your foot through the motion, if you start fatiguing and your form gets sloppy, then the shoe doesn't really provide you a lot of support. And so I felt some pain in my feet. I think a little bit of pain in my back after that 10-kilometer run. So I wouldn't necessarily use this for much longer than a 5K. And it has to be kind of a casual 5K. It can't be really competitive because this sole is so soft. You don't really get a lot of assistance in picking up the pace. The next pair of shoes we're going to talk about entered my collection, it was a year and a half ago. Prior to this, I hadn't really had a whoa experience running in Nike shoes. And then they sent me over the Zoom Pegasus 35. I thought, okay, so it's a lightweight daily trainer, blah blah blah. It has a new beveled heel. It has the Achilles collar that turns away, and I kind of paid attention to the shoe, and I really liked the colorway they sent it in. And then as I started running in these shoes, I absolutely started falling in love with them. Take note, I was doing short distances still in these shoes. And I didn't really feel that it justified me owning two pairs of these. So when Nike sent me their second pair, I let it go because this one was still working fine. And then I started training again and I started racing again, and I discovered that the Pegasus 35 was a great shoe to race in as well, especially given the paces that I was going at. And so I kind of viewed my giving away of the second pair with some regrets, because I wish I just kept them, and then I wouldn't have to worry about these wearing out too quickly, because the Zoom Air midsole kind of might flatten out sometime in the future. So I was kind of, I should have kept the second pair, because then I would have something to rotate it with. These have now racked up about 245 kilometers on them. I really like them. I mean, I used them in Bali when I did the Super League Triathlon age group enduro over there. I used them also in the enduro with the Go Clark guys. I also used them in a lot. I think I used these in the swim bike run duathlon as well. So I really liked not just training in these shoes, but racing in them as well. Now this next shoe is not from a big shoe manufacturer, but I did feature two models from their lines in this channel. It's the Kalenji Kiprun Ultralight. The most recent one that I reviewed from Kalenji was their KD Light, which is a more built-up shoe. These were the first ones that I reviewed from them, though. When I received these, I ran in them, I wasn't in the best health or the best shape. So that lends itself to sloppy technique, and I had such a hard time running in them on concrete. On treadmills, though, I really found that this thin midsole lent itself well to picking up the pace, picking up my feet. And so I kept them on as kind of like a speed training shoe. I do think that they would also excel on the track. If I ever get out to ultra track again, I will probably use these shoes to run in. During my training for the half marathon, I used these for my speed work, and they were amazing as well. I mean, I didn't know I could get my cadence up to that rating, but I did, and these shoes are partly not to blame, but they're partly the reason for that. They're really super light. So the most recent shoe that I received for review was the Brooks Ghost 12, which is kind of their daily trainer model as well. Now, I reviewed it and said it's perfect. It's an all-around shoe. I mean, it wouldn't be the shoe that I would race a speedy 5K in, but I mean, if you want a shoe that you can really beat on pavement day in, day out, then this would be a great shoe. And for the most part, it has done that job. It's picked up some mileage, but when I ran my first 12 kilometers this year in this pair of shoes, I did find that the traction was not as good as I expected. It had rained the previous night, but it was kind of drying off already, and so what was left on the ground was kind of this thin sheen of water, and for some reason these shoes just could not get a good grip on the asphalt. It was kind of strange, because I really thought, and I've experienced, that these shoes are grippy, and so in that use case it was not grippy. I found myself running very gingerly, and towards the end of that 12K, my my left glute was kind of giving out. I couldn't really pick up my leg for some reason. It was weird. I do like them though for, you know, basic just running around, and I will probably keep them on as a long run mileage shoe. So I've gone through all of the shoes. I've given my follow-up thoughts on them after I reviewed them some months ago. And the shoe that I am going to run the Singapore half marathon in is, of course, the Pegasus 35. They've been really dependable. They're really light, but they offer the kind of cushioning that I feel that I would need for a 21K, so that my body won't feel super beat up at the end of them. Obviously, I've also run a 21K in the Speedform Apollo 2s, but I'm kind of reserving those shoes for triathlon racing, and I'm kind of scared that if I take them out on a 21K, they might fall apart on me. And I wouldn't have a replacement for them. But with these Pegasus 35s, the 36 that came out is basically built on the same midsole with just an improved upper. And so if these give out on me, which I doubt they will, then I can just buy a 36. So that's my shoe journey so far, and these are the shoes in my rotation. I do have a new pair of shoes coming in the next 3 weeks. I ordered them online because they weren't available here in the Philippines. They are a cult classic, and they have a worldwide fandom to them. They are not a pair that I have used in the past, and so even if they do arrive in time for the Singapore Half Marathon, I wouldn't be using them sight unseen. But hopefully, if my experiences are good with them, then they'll really enter my shoe rotation. Alright guys, thanks for watching through this video. If you like it, if you found it informative, please do give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments and on social media if you agree or disagree about anything I've said about these shoes. Let me know about your experiences with any of the shoes that I've talked about, and let me know what shoe really works for you. I'd love to know, and maybe this will also influence me on my next shoe purchase decision. Thanks guys! See you next time!